Hello, everybody. This is Shruthi from the Demystifying Healing podcast, and I am here with the lovely, beautiful Olga, who's my co-host
Hi.
on this podcast. uh, Today, we would be talking about the concept of a teacher. What is a teacher? A spiritual teacher or any kind of teacher that we come across in life? And by extension, uh, what do we mean when we say the word student? What is the meaning of the word student? So this is a vast topic, and this will be a series of episodes. It's not going to end with this particular episode. We're just starting this off in this episode. And so when I first met Olga, I was a people pleaser with a lot of boundary issues. I was still in that paradigm of, oh, we're all one, and which was good, as in, that's all, that's all, that's where we came from, and probably that's where we're moving. But what I didn't realize was that I had serious boundary issues I had serious enmeshment with people. So she did a lot of shamanic blessings and shamanic healing with me, and got me to a point where now I know what is mine and what is not mine. So in that sense, she's a teacher to me. So I want to begin by honoring her as my teacher.
Thank you so much.
I always wanted to say this to you, but it sounds very formal when we're just talking to each other, right? So I'm very happy that I finally had the opportunity to say this to you, in this podcast, which is very sacred to me. So yeah. So in that sense, you are my teacher, and I'd like to know your thoughts on what a teacher is. I would like to learn more from my teacher today.
I'm very grateful. It took me by surprise. Yeah, that sounds pretty formal. And you are too my teacher. The reason I could help you with your issue of everything is one and I'm one with everybody and everybody's one with me. We are all one. Because I came to my teacher being like that, one. And I've had a lot of spiritual experiences where I connected to that oneness a lot. And because of that, I've been too allowing for people to do whatever they wanted to do. And because I loved everybody or something. Mm-hmm. And in one way it is true, but my teacher really helped me to figure out to be in this body right now and to understand that right now we're going through an experience, that has a reason why we're not in complete unity right now. And by the way, what is that? We can always connect to it but right now, as we're speaking to each other on the Zoom call, obviously we are in a state of some kind of separation for a purpose, for a reason. So she taught me how to, by the way, her name is Paula Santre. In case anybody's interested to get lessons from her, I recommend her. I'm going to put her link in the description box below. Yeah, since she taught me how to do that, I could teach you. And if I wouldn't have learned that from her, if I couldn't be a student like that from her, I would not have been able to share it with you and even to notice that you have this issue. Yes. And you and me would be continuing to be in the state of everything is one. No.
Yes, it's a very painful state to be in when you don't really realize that it's a boundary issue, because that was where I was. I didn't even realize that it was a boundary issue. So the first time you said it to me, Olga has a very gentle way of breaking things to you. I am more abrasive. But she does this very gently, and I was taken by surprise, and I had a lot of resistance to it, because I think I sent you long voice notes saying no, this is my path in life and all of that. And once that was gone, I was in meditation one day and I was like, oh my God, she is right. This is what is happening to me. As in, I have boundary issues, and it's okay. As in, I can heal from that. But accepting that was a major issue for me. So thank you so much for that. And with that, let's jump into today's episode.
Yeah. Yeah, and you are my teacher in a sense. Actually, this episode already started because I explained, like, since I was a student from someone else, I could teach you this. And you, in turn, teach me every day how to speak because that's like my big issue of I'm afraid of speaking. I'm afraid of speaking my truth, speaking myself, expressing myself, and like thanks to always watching you and observing you speak because you're quite outspoken, and it's like, and like I love the way you actually just speak without really too much filtering.
Yes.
And it's okay, one day you can say A and the other day you can say, hey, I don't think that it's A anymore, I think it's B now. So
I know.
So
I know.
it's like, and so I'm learning every day from you to speak up. So in that sense, we're both teachers and students towards each other in a way.
And I've learned a lot of temperance from you. Earlier, I was like I said, abrasive is the word. I didn't really care about how people would take it. And yes, tough love is required for some people, especially the clients that I work with. But sometimes what happens is you tell somebody something today, and tomorrow, like when you have to flow with it, right? So the following day, if your client comes up with another problem, you might give them a different teaching, or you might take a different approach. And the client might have a little bit of resistance to it because they're still getting used to that first bit of teaching. But as a teacher, like I used to get ahead of myself, and I used to be like, this is for, that was for that day and this is for today, and learn to flow with it without realizing that I have been a person like this. Like it's very easy for me to move from concept to concept every day, but that's not how, others are wired. And you taught me how to speak to people in a way that, it becomes more acceptable to them. As in there's a actual flow to things now.
I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, probably you don't, because people who have that skill, they usually don't, because probably it comes very naturally to you. For me, like, to be very honest, like in my early 20s, most of my 20s, in fact, I used to love to shock people with my ideas. So I think I had like a hangover of that. So whenever I used to speak, I had this dramatic effect. I think I still have, as in those elements of drama where I, if I'm saying, yes.
Yeah, your posts are very dramatic. Yeah.
Oh yes, they are. So yeah, that's part of my personality, and there are people who love it, there are people who hate it, but yeah, that's what I am. But you taught me that whoever you're in service to at a particular moment in time, you have to keep in mind their interests. As in, how do you need to have to speak to them so that the teaching or the lesson or the healing becomes more accessible to them. So you taught me how to take myself out of the equation for a while, as in my personality out of the equation for a while. So I still have that abrasiveness, but I think that's reserved for friends. So sometimes I know, like when I talk to you, I do take that liberty where I have no filters. Right. So I have that with friends, but now I know that when I'm speaking to clients or to somebody who's come to me for healing or a particular kind of teaching or anything, like I have to be in service to that person at that moment. I have learned how to sort of temper down my Shrutiness, so that the teaching comes through for them. So earlier for me, it was like, if I'm toning myself down, then I'm not being Shruti. Now it's not so much an issue. I know that there is a time and place for that. I have my social media, I have my friends, I have the entire world in fact. Right. But then, you taught me that fine balance between being yourself and being there for others. Did you realize that you had such a...
like zero. No, like, and that's actually like one of the elements I wanted to talk about. Like I have this notepad with stuff written on it. I had to stop really quickly because it was just like coming too much. And so this seems like it's going to be a series of episodes rather than one, like, right? And you just touched on the levels of intentions of being a teacher that I wrote, like as something that came to me as I was meditating on what is a teacher. So since I was really surprised what you said that I taught you, because I don't remember explicitly having that intention to teach you that, but you seem to have taken it like as a lesson, which is surprising to me because it feels like it was unintentional on my side. So and unintentional, also I was connecting to how everybody in a way is a teacher and everybody in a way is a student, and how there are so many, like, coming from that one consciousness that everything is everything. And I felt like you actually connected to that side a lot when we were preparing for this episode.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to mention how everybody's a teacher to like how it all naturally happens anyway, if you'd like to talk about it, because then I'll be talking about kind of the opposite thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, this planet that we have incarnated into is a school, which means that everything which happens in our life, from the moment we are born to the moment we die in this lifetime, they're all just a set of teachings, a set of lessons. And they come with, those lessons can come from anybody. Right? Like we go to a standard school system where we have a maths teacher, we have a science teacher, we have an arts teacher. So the way we function in this world, the way the school system is structured, is that we have designated teachers for designated subjects, and that carries into college as well. So the fallout of that is that we tend to look for that structure in life as well, as in, okay, a wisdom has to be deep, it has to hit me, and in a profound way, it has to knock me out for three days, and that's a teaching. And that's a teacher who can give me, profound wisdom. That's a teacher. So for the longest time, it's been like that. And we encourage that. I mean, be them our gurus, be them our school teachers, or the teachers that we are most affected by or influenced by in college, or even influencers in today's world, for that matter, influencers. Those who shock and awe, or those who tell you things as it is, the ones who just rattle you to your bones and, give you something which probably even traumatizes you for a second. Okay, as in something has to be. But the point is that that's not what I think a teaching or a teacher necessarily is. They are teachers. All of these are teachers. The deep teachings, the tough love, all of that, all of that is teaching. But what about the baby who, like, for example, if you're anxious one day, if you're like terribly anxious about your life, okay, where is probably my finances are not in order, maybe I lost a job, maybe, something happened and I'm like all in my head and I'm trying to plan it all out. You look at finance gurus, or you speak to friends who are at a stage in life where, you fancy yourself to be there. You want yourself to be there. Okay, all of them are, teachers who are teaching you great lessons. But then at the end of the day, you might look at your baby who's just smiling or crying probably, or probably just shitting all over the place or vomiting. So, that baby takes you out of that moment. Whatever that you were involved with, you are suddenly caught up in the world of this little child. Right? And in that moment, what is the baby trying to teach you? There are like so many profound lessons here, but if I just had to go by what's coming to me right now off the top of my head, one is, okay, you have to be prepared for contingencies. And contingencies don't have to be like a job loss or anything. It can be just a family member requiring attention, and you didn't account for that. Right? Life can surprise you. And life can surprise you in positive ways as well. Like, for example, you're working on your laptop, all day long. Like I said, you're dealing with that problem, and a child just takes you out of that situation. And you suddenly realize that, oh, this is also part of it. That does not hit people as something profound, because we are in this habit of treating that as just life, something which is mundane. But that's a very important teaching. Right?
Yeah.
So a lot of my clients, it's very easy for me to work with people who have children. Why? Because I can just tell them to go and just observe their children, especially who are like babies to 7 years of age, because they still haven't been molded into, what we want them to be, and all of that. And if you just sit and observe children for a while, you'll be like, they are like a gold mine of wisdom. Right? There's a park right outside, near my house, and I can see that park from one of the windows in the house. And that's what I do when I'm like extremely anxious. In fact, that's what I did right before I came for this recording. So I was like, oh my God, I've been, preparing for this for a few days. I have clients. I had this client who was in a crisis just before we started recording. And while I was on that call, I was like, oh my God, I promised Olga that, I'll start at 9:30 and it's already like, overshooting. I don't know what's happening, but okay, I have this commitment to a client. I told her, since you are in a crisis situation, I'll be available for you till 11 p.m. at night. I mean, that's a commitment I made to her. So I can't like renege on that either, right? And while I was doing all of that, I went to the kitchen to make a cup of tea, and there was that window. And right outside the window, I could see those children playing. It was 9:30 at night and they were playing. And I was like, oh my God, like this is life as well. It's 9:30 at night. It's probably after supper. They're just playing, there. And I was just observing them. And then I was looking at the trees and, all of it. It brought me out of that moment. I went on to make a Facebook post on something very mundane, very close to my heart, but very lighthearted. I came for this recording. That I'm very sure that if I hadn't had that moment of observing those children, they were just playing. They were not like teaching me. They were not like this YouTube channel of an influencer, teaching you, okay, you have to make time for play. And, it was not like this teaching which came in a very structured way. So sometimes like teachers don't even realize that they're teaching you something. Like those children will never know that what they did for this woman who was like so overwhelmed with her life. Right, which is why I made.
So what was the teaching they gave you unintentionally, or not knowingly?
To get out of my head. Like it's okay if, yes, there is a crisis here, there's a crisis there. My client obviously had a crisis. I had a time commitment to you, to this podcast, and to, like even after we finish this podcast, recording this podcast, I have a task today. Right, those time, whatever we have set for the podcast. So I was so much in my head. I was like, I cannot take 2 minutes out because I'm hard pressed for time and I have to make this work. And what's happening in my personal life and, all of it. We all have that. Right. So I'm like, okay, I was in this movie. But I just observed those kids. They took me out of that moment. And for 5 minutes, I was just staring at them. I was not doing anything. Right. My client call was pending. You were waiting. All of that was happening. What happened? I observed them and I completely went out of my mind. And I was like, it's okay. They will understand. Olga is not this monster who's going to judge me if I am like, she understands life happens. And yes, my client has a crisis, but she will also flow through the tides of life. It's okay if I, respond to her a bit later. It's okay if, one of the things I still struggle with is my, I get like very anxious if I can't keep my commitments to people. I feel like I'm this very lazy person.
Yeah, it's like we are trying to be a tractor, like a machine. And
yes, exactly.
And if we're not being a machine, we're being violent to ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that does two things. One, you no longer enjoy the process. I became a healer because it was fulfilling to me. Right. We started this podcast together because we wanted to
enjoy
it and help people heal and all of it. But even in a Facebook community, the vibe is very light. It's not like this, this has to be done.
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a terrible life. Like it has to be like a soft life. That's what I'm trying to create for myself as well. A very soft life where a lot of things get done, but I don't have to do anything which is harmful to me. As Shruthi in this incarnation.
Or like forcing or enforcing or like pushing on you, pushing your freedom or something. Yeah.
Exactly. And So it's very funny to me. This is what I was thinking when I was observing the kids. I was like, I created this life for myself because I wanted to have a chill life. But I have found a way to make even that stressful for me.
Yeah, like I also observe myself sometimes turning my thing that I really love, like drawing and writing and the healing sessions and everything, into some kind of a 9 to 5 job.
Yes.
And not even 9 to 5 job, it's more like 24-hour job. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm trying to put in like 48 hours into a 24-hour day of something that I love, but I forgot to kind of change my attitude towards just like everyday life, because that's the only thing I know how to do, because I grew up preparing for this. Then I had a regular job that starts at this time and finishes at that time, as a teacher, by the way. It's an episode on teachers. So like I had this job that was like very structured, and then I broke away from it to be free. And then I am trying to put myself back into those into that cage again, because I haven't figured out a new balance yet. And it's okay to observe ourselves doing this and go like, that's cool. I see you. I understand you. That's what's happening. I love you anyway. And, I love myself too enough to change, and it's okay. Like,
exactly. And that making mistakes is okay. For me, like I'm still very terrified of making mistakes, because it's like I can let myself down, but if I let other people down, it weighs on me for days and days and days. I'm very harsh with myself when it comes to that. And probably I got into healing as a profession because I wanted to help people. And somewhere along the line, it turned into this addiction for me, where I was like, if I'm not able to fix somebody's life, then what am I even doing? I became a healer because I wanted to fix people. And now I'm like, no, that's not really necessary. I became a healer. Like, even if I'm able to help somebody with a small problem, or if I'm able to help them figure out one piece of the puzzle, that's okay. Maybe that's my soul contract with them, or whatever you want to call it. Maybe that's what they require out of me. I don't have to like manufacture somebody's life for them. Yes, I can give them tools. I can give them healing in extreme cases, because only healing can, when you're like completely in a state of trauma. But when somebody is like floating about and normal, and they come to you, like when a client of mine comes to me and tells me, I want to figure out what I want from life. So talking to this person for a few hours, I can sort of figure out what they want, but I don't really want to plant those ideas into this person's head. I want it to come from them. So what I generally do is I give them prompts so that they can arrive at these decisions, these realizations themselves. And sometimes they're not able to do that. Or sometimes, like you become a bit disappointed that, okay, this person has so much potential, but they're not there yet where they want to realize their potential. And sometimes it so happens that they tell you that this is what they want. You know that this is what they want, but they are like, okay, I want it to take 5 years. And somewhere in your mind, you're like, no, you can get there in 5 months if you want. And that's the control freak healer in me talking, right? I mean, if they want to take 5 years, and if it's not harmful, I'm not talking about people who are addicted to drugs, or, who have a binge eating problem, or something that's, just making their life go to bits. I'm talking about people who just want to chill for those 5 years. There is no self-destruction, so to speak. So I was like, yeah, why am I trying to control it? I mean, why do I think that if my client is not able to become the person they are meant to be in 5 months, after we have both come to a conclusion that this is what they eventually want to do, like why do I have to control that? Because they still have to live their life. And I realized that it's because I would feel that I failed as a coach or a healer. But then maybe my greatest victory was just giving them the tools to understand what is it they want from their life. That's all. And many times clients come to you, they tell you something, but as in they tell, for example, so there are women who come to me and tell me, okay, I want to get married. and I can't seem to find the right guy. So can you help me out with this? So when I work with them, like it takes like what, 3-4 sessions to make them, for them to understand that, okay, this is the kind of partner that I would want to have. Okay. And we do some more inner work and some more inner work. And then they come to a point where they're like, actually, marriage is not what I want. There are people like that. They're like, eventually, probably, but right now, the reason I was so desperate to get married is because I was trying to run away from myself, or because my family said that I have to get married, or because society, like, all of that comes into play. So initially, like very early in my career, I used to be like, okay, so this woman came to me and told me that she wants to get married, and now she has found her life, but she's not married. She's not married. So did I fail? As an, I mean, are you getting what I'm trying to tell you? People have their lives. People, and sometimes when they come to you and tell you, when somebody goes to a coach or a healer, telling them, this is what I want out of life. In this case, I want to get married. Okay, so a coach and a healer can help you find all the blocks to marriage, or whatever there is. But sometimes it may happen that marriage is not what they're looking for. I'm using marriage as an example, but this can also happen in careers. I've had a client who was a doctor who at the end of 5 sessions, he told me that he does not want to be a doctor, and that he will be finding a way to transition out of that career. So I was talking to a fellow healer, and she's very young, actually. So this healer was very young. So she told me, but then this guy is a trained doctor, and we are a country which needs doctors. We have like one doctor for 10,000 people in this country. So if he's going out to the workforce, then, we are a third world country, and we need more doctors. So why would you tell somebody, why would you let somebody come to a conclusion that they shouldn't be a doctor? Right. And at that stage in my career, I bought into it a bit. I was like, yeah, that's true. I mean, but now I know that your life path, your life purpose is much more than that. Life has a plan. So this person's track, this person's life plan, this client of mine, this doctor's life path was to become a doctor, learn a couple of lessons along the way of becoming a doctor and practicing as a doctor, and then bottoming out, realizing that this is not for them, and then going to a coach. And
so how do you think you are bringing back to what is a teacher? You were talking about being a healer and coach. How would you connect that to what is a teacher?
This particular instance, as a healer, and in this particular instance, I am just a facilitator in people's lives. In the sense, when I try to help somebody figure out why they are unhappy with their lives, or what is it that they really want to do.
So do you consider yourself to be a healer or a coach or a teacher?
I think all three. It depends on, and a healer is a teacher in so many ways. Because let's go back to this example, as in the note on which we started this episode. You probably did not even realize that you gave me these life lessons. When you were doing those blessings for me, when you were doing shamanic healing on me, you had an intention for me. That's true. But I took away from it certain things which my soul longed for. I took away teachings from it which my soul longed for. So in that instance, you were acting in the capacity of a healer. But for me, you were a healer come a teacher, also a coach. Right? Because I was able to track my life 5 years into the future if I continued doing what I was doing as a people pleaser or as somebody without boundaries. And then I was like, okay, this is not right. Okay, this is not going to end well for me if,
Yeah, actually, this issue, like you said, I'm a bit of a healer, a bit of a coach, a bit of a teacher. It's like one of the things one of the elements I was given when I was asking what is a teacher. And yeah, it's one of the things that is written there. It's like a teacher is actually a combination of a number of roles.
Yes.
Depending on the case and on the what's coming up. But about the unintentional, we're talking about unintentional in the beginning, and I wanted to bring it back to intentional. So I was asking my guides, like, okay, I understand the unintentional part. It's everywhere. It's everything. It's very combined and enmeshed sometimes and everything. And then I told my guides, like, I want to figure out, like, what about a person who wants to be a teacher? And first I was just connecting a teacher, like math teacher, like whatever, science teacher, any kind of teacher. And then I realized that, if I want to actually learn something of value right now, I better focus, like limit/focus my question to what is a spiritual teacher, because this is like way too much going for a general teacher. Because I was getting into these kinds of things, like examples, like, and it's coming to the next point, like examples like, do you want to live in a house that was created by a person who can connect to wisdom of the world and like intuitively build your house? Or do you want to live in a house built by an architect who learn a lot of facts and structure and rules and all this stuff that is quite structured? And I'm like, no, I'd rather live in a house that was created by an architect who knows physics and stuff like that. And it's like, do you want to have a heart surgery from a person who is doing that for the first time intuitively, or do you want to have a heart surgery from a person who has a very structured, like a structure in mind? And then I was asked, like, do you, on the other hand, do you think that you can't use your intuition doing these things? Is there a place for both? Is there intuition in building a house, or even intuition involved in creating some kind of an innovation for architecture or something, or innovation for heart surgery or something, and using intuition while doing it too, but keeping a structure? And then I was given these examples, and then this is how I understood my guides actually teaching me what is a teacher. And they were showing me like a flame. That's what you were talking about. The people come to you and you guide them, and sometimes it ends up guiding them like in an unexpected way. But I was shown this image of a flame within everybody. It's like a flame of life that you want to experience, at least for this incarnation or a bunch of incarnations, whatever. I was shown this light within us, like a soul, something that wants to be big and alive, and like burn in a good way, like shine. And I was shown that a teacher is somebody who facilitates that. That's exactly the word you used, facilitates. And when I was doing my master's in science or in education, we were taught exactly this too. What is a teacher? We don't spoon feed stuff into people's mouths, but we are a facilitator for learning. So we help the children or the students to, first of all, even figure out what do they want to know, and then give them all the tools and guide them. So there's another role of a teacher, guide, to guide them into learning whatever it is that they want to learn, and be able to do this, like take that flame that's very small and wants to shine really bright, and just like allow it to, you're a facilitator for someone to live their life, like with a capital letter L, live. And so I was shown this like image of a teacher is someone who gifts you a balance, or gives you a balance of, first, like on the one hand, helps you to become very like open up to a a huge, gigantic everything in terms of self-awareness within, a world within and a world without. As we say, as within, so without.
Yes.
So a teacher helps you open up. And I asked about specifically a spiritual teacher. So not another kind of teacher, spiritual teacher. And I was shown this. On the one hand, the teacher opens up, makes you free, opens up to the freedom of all this available information out there, all this information within, which is pretty much the same thing after all. And then the teacher balances it out with some kind of structure on the other hand. So on the one hand, the teacher opens up this door to all this freedom, lets in all this freedom of like an information flow. And this is my perception of what a spiritual teacher is when I connected to it. So, and this is, if I ever want to be a spiritual teacher, this is the kind of teacher I'd like to be. So on the one hand, opening that door of self-awareness and awareness of the universe, which is basically, mirror images of each other, like as within, so without, as above, so below. But also a teacher balances it out with a structure, with a limitation, with a focus. Because what is the purpose of, like, is going back to the introduction of our video, what is the purpose of being connected to everything? Yeah, we can be connected to everything. But then a student, a person, a seeker who is seeking something and has come to a teacher for help because they have an itch they can't scratch. I would say that. What is a student, like, as a person who has an itch that they cannot scratch? That's why they're looking for a teacher, and then they look for all these people who are offering some kind of guidance. And the structure, limitation, focus that I'm talking about is basically introducing the student to, like, helping them to find what do you want to focus on? How do you want to limit this gigantic flow of information and awareness? And this word limit and / focus, I always use them together because on the one hand, we limit the flow of information. On the other hand, and that is like a passive kind of, I'm a victim type of thing, or I'm a prisoner type of thing. But my guides always say, change the word limit to focus. So you can, what do you want to focus on? You have all this wealth of stuff available to you. What do you want to focus on? Because that is a question of our souls. Like, what does my soul want? What is my desire to experience? That flame that's very small right now, how is it going to be fanned into a bigger flame? And how do I get all this information, all this stuff available to me? How do I make it scratch my itch? How do I reorganize myself, and channel this gigantic flow of information into something meaningful and blissful and joyful, and for me, that gives me a purpose and a sense of feeling alive, like truly feeling alive. It is the interplay, that symbol that you're talking about, you taught me. Infinity symbol of masculine and feminine. And I don't want to label what is the masculine here, what is the feminine, but it is the teacher is being facilitating this flow in a way, opening up to freedom, and at the same time opening up the student to find their own structure, what is it that you want?
Exactly.
because like a lot of times, like I would get a client or somebody asking, I want to develop my psychic skills and abilities. And I had that too before, and I thought I had problems with it. But I didn't have problems with the psychic skills and abilities. Everybody has that. The problem is, what do you want to know, and for what purpose? And like, for example, I get people saying that I ask this question and I get noise, or I ask something and I get noise, or I ask something and I get silence. And I'm like, what was the specific question? And then we get to the root of it, that there was no specific question. There was just, I want to experience something psychic or something. Not even something psychic. I want to experience everything. Like the question is everything. I want everything. So then the answer comes as everything. This is everything.
Exactly.
This is everything.
This is everything. Yeah.
And then we experience either as noise, like all the stations of the radio channel or TV, all the stations are playing at the same time. It's nonsense. It's gibberish. It's like Geico, garbage in, garbage out. Like what? Or we experience it as silence because we sometimes experience noise as silence.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not about opening someone's psychic ability. It's more about teaching people how to ask the questions that matter to them. And having the satisfaction of question and having the satisfaction of an answer makes sense and give you joy and like scratching that itch, because like before I met my teacher, I used to really love to like psychically travel in different realms, and I didn't even know there were different realms, but I would encounter like beings, non-physical beings, and I would sit in this beautiful conversation with them and watch them sing and dance, and like I often see them sing and dance and express themselves, and now I understand why, because that was always my wish to express myself. That's why I always hung out with beings who were expressing themselves, like you. Actually, you are expressing yourself. That's why I was attracted to talk to you, because you're expressing yourself. And then it's like I'm always out there and experiencing psychic stuff, but nothing ever I felt empty. Nothing ever felt like it's itching it's scratching that itch. Like I felt like it had no meaning or purpose. I wasn't satisfied. And that is because I was running away. I was just running away from myself. Because I thought something out there is much more interesting than here. And my teacher had to heal a lot of and that's where the healer comes in when you're a spiritual teacher, when you're trying to open that door to your self-awareness, and then the student goes like, I don't want to look there.
Yes.
Because I think
it comes with a lot of resistance of it. Yeah.
I don't want to look within because I think I'm not that cool. I don't want to look within because I think I'm not worthy. I don't want to look within because I'm boring. What I'm going to find is boring. I don't want to look within because you're trying to limit sometimes I used to get angry at my teacher that why are you limiting my,
Yes, I know.
all the stuff I could experience. Why you keep pointing back to me? But then, so in that sense, a teacher has to be a healer sometimes so that they can heal the blocks and resistances that you're having, that, the teacher's trying to open these doors to you, but you're like, I don't want to go within. I want to go all the other doors except the one that really matters. But all the other doors also lead you to something that really matters. Like when
it's like a choice point.
Yeah. Like all the beings I saw, they were all dancing and expressing themselves. They were leading me to a part of me that wants to become alive. I didn't even know that.
Exactly. That's true. And this is also something which I learned from you when you said that limits translate as focus. So the first time you said that, it was still a bit triggering for me because I was like, okay, focus still falls within the ambit of structure, and anything which is structured is going to sort of limit me. And, life has to be flowing and fluid and all of that. And then I realized that just like you realized that limits translate into focus, I realized that focus translates into choice. It's a choice I'm making. So nobody's externally. Exactly. So nobody's like externally putting a constraint on me. Oh, you have to do this. It's still my choice, what I get to focus on.
Yeah.
Right. And for the longest time, like you gave the example of doors. What I was doing with my life is I had multiple doors open. And because I did not want to commit to one choice, the problem with that was I was just stepping into a door, exploring a bit and coming out because I had all these other doors open. So, I wasn't exploring anything as deeply. And I used to drown in it. Like, for example, I would, for example, if I were pursuing one door, if I had gone like 3 miles, inside one particular door or gateway, I would explore it for 2-3 months, say, for example. But then I wouldn't like take it to a logical conclusion, or not even a conclusion, as in I wouldn't even ask myself, okay, if I choose this path, if I choose to go forward with this, then what can come out of this? Right. The only thing I would be focusing on, like my focus at the time was, oh my God, I have all these other doors open. So, okay, I cannot go any further. So let me go explore something else. And at the end of the day, I had a lot of information on a lot of things, even channeled information. Like I had channeled information on a lot of things. But it was like in India, we have this dish called khichdi. Khichdi is basically, you put everything as in lentils and meat and rice and whatever in a pressure cooker. And when it comes out, you can't make out one from the other. So everything is in there, but it's all like, you don't know what to do with it. And it's tasty. It's very tasty because you have flavors of everything in it. But at the end of the day, you are like, well, what was this? So that was my life. Like, I'm very grateful for those years. I still consider them to be my salad days because the path that I've chosen now, the path of a healer, all the information that I gathered from all the other doors, they are helping me in some way. But yes, I did not need all of that information to become a healer. And, those years when I lacked focus, where I was not consciously committing to one teaching or one path or, whatever, it came with its own share of pain because I didn't know who I was. And that's like a lot of pain to take in. That's when you feel, oh, I'm not doing anything with my life, or I'm not productive, I'm not this, I'm not that. So a lot of your energy, at least in my case, it went into consoling myself. Right. But if I had sort of committed to one path for a few years, or probably even a few months longer than what I was committing to, something fruitful would have, come out of that. Probably I would have still become a healer because I think that is my soul path. Mm-hmm. Right. But it wouldn't have been this long, convoluted, heart achy, oh, I'm suicidal path. So you can save yourself a lot of pain. There's nothing wrong with not having focus or not choosing or any of it. Right. Like in my tradition, we say that you can choose to you can choose to come to a certain doorway in one lifetime, or you might take 50 million lifetimes to come to that gateway. And it's not wrong, as in it's completely your choice. But if you want to get there in a way that doesn't mess you up or make you go through
not a pain suffering way.
Exactly.
Like I always say, there's a way of pain and suffering, and there's a way of,
ease.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's that. So I completely understand. For me, even now, I'll be very honest, structure, focus, all of these things, they still have that edge to it because I come from a background where I had to follow a lot of rigid structures. But when I say choice, when I use the word focus and choice interchangeably, it does something to my soul. And I think we all have to find a word which suits us. It's all like, you just have to find that sweet spot and the path that you're committed to, and the language does not matter. The point is to just commit to something that, that is on your soul.
Yeah. Yeah, like what you said is exactly what my guides are also like. That's what they mean when they say change the word limit to focus, because it puts you in the driver's seat of your life. It turns you from a consumer of experiences to a creator of your experiences.
Exactly.
Because if you are focusing, like you said, there is choice. And then if you accept that, I want to say responsibility and like, you know, the fact that you do it, not somebody else, you do it.
Exactly.
Responsibility for your own actions. A lot of times this really triggers people, and triggered me too, like take responsibility for your actions. And then there's a desire to blame and say no, you know, because then we're like, and that's where the healer part of the teacher comes in, to heal those parts of you that scream, but why did I create this? Why would I ever create this painful experience for myself? And then in healing, whatever is the issue, actually, I can't say the same thing for everybody it will be different, but healing those parts allows you to be like, oh, I am responsible for my actions means I am the creator of stuff. You know, I am the creator. Like, and then the focus versus limitation turns you into the driver of your car instead of being the passenger in the car. You can be both. You can be a passenger, you can be a driver, but once you put yourself in the driver's seat, it's like you get to choose the focus and you get to change it, because you get to heal that kind of like system of feedback for yourself. Because you're like, okay, this is the unlimited stuff that is available to me. And this is the structure limitation I'm putting on because this is my desire for an experience. And then there can be a closed unit of experience where I go, this is what I want, this is the structure. And then when you put them together, you get an answer and you get like a kind of fulfillment in yourself, because you have you have scratched something, and then you can tell, oh, did I scratch the right thing? Did the thing that was itching? And then you can realize, no, I wasn't. I was itching somewhere else. And then you can be tuning into like, why was I itching somewhere else? Can we make some changes for the next unit of scratching, for the next unit of experience, of answer, question and answer. And I think like this is the role of a teacher who facilitates a human being to kind of like remember that they can do this. Like remember that you can do this. You have all this stuff in front of you, and you are the driver of your own life experience, and to like oil those wheels in a way, like to lubricate the system to make it work better. And then when the teacher has taught you how to do this, perhaps then you're going to be either friends or, I don't know, you're going to maybe go to another teacher or so, I don't know. But that's like, I feel like that's the end result that I would be looking for in my student, to empower them to do this. And then that's it, that's it. So this
Olga, do you think that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, like this is one of the elements I wanted to talk about teacher.
Okay. So do you think that it's easier for people who know for a fact that there is something called reincarnation, there is something called multiple lives? Because what I see in my clients is that if somebody is a nihilist or somebody has no spiritual practice, or they are very rooted in material existence and they don't believe in past lives or future lives or any of that, then it's very difficult for them to accept the fact that, okay, let me just choose this path and explore this. Because they are like, oh my God, I have to get all of this done in this one single lifetime. But there are so many paths available to me and there are so many things that I want to explore. Right. But if somebody comes to me who has this belief system, even if even if they're not channelers, even if they don't really have this knowing inside them that, okay, you have multiple lifetimes, even if they come from a school of thought or a religion which believes in reincarnation, I think it's much easier for them to accept that it's okay to choose one path and commit to it. Because all these other, I can just go for the path that I'm most called to. And if these other paths are still of interest to me, then maybe I'll explore them in other lifetimes. Right. So, what would you have to say to that? What would you like? How do you ease somebody who comes from a very materialistic point of view, a material view of reality? Do you think it's more difficult for them to, as a teacher or as a healer, is it more difficult for you to be a facilitator for them, to make them realize or come to an understanding of what it is that they should commit to?
Yeah, it's challenging because, like, actually, if you ask me if I believe in reincarnation, I will say, like, I don't believe in anything, including reincarnation, because I just know that it exists, because
Exactly.
I have been given these visions since I was a kid of my other lifetimes.
Yes.
And now I'm aware of so many lifetimes, and it's like that. I want to, like, I agree with you completely that when you realize that there is such a thing as reincarnation, and we have virtually unlimited amount of tries, we have an unlimited amount of lifetimes, it really, really kind of like decompresses the balloon of thinking that, oh, I need to do everything in one lifetime. In fact, like, I was exactly like this when I was a teenager, and I had so much anxiety, even though I knew that I had a past life that I was very aware of, and I knew that I chose to come here. I remember the moment when I decided to come here as this person, Olga, and to have these parents. And I was still at the same time a teenager who was thinking that I have to do everything. I have to be everything. I have to try everything. I have to do everything. I have to get married. I have to have kids. I have to have a few PhDs. I have to be a company or
Not
more.
just one, but few. Yes.
I have to have a mansion. I have to have many cars. I have to be feeding my children food from scratch. I have to be successful at what I do. I have to have a perfect body. I have to have perfect health. I have to live until 80 something. I have to have grandchildren. Like, there was just all this stuff I had to do, and it gave me a tremendous pressure. Like, somewhere deep inside of me, I knew this is not possible to do, and that's why I was constantly in anxiety. And it was like I was anxietying myself to sleep, trying to over-plan, over-prepare for everything, trying to run against time to do everything. And the more I got older, the more I realized, like, this is impossible. This is impossible. But I didn't want to admit it to myself, so I just ran faster until my guides arranged for me to have a near-death experience where this balloon deflated. Like, they showed me that, look, your life can end like right now. And what do you want to live your life for? Do you want to live your life for all the stuff that you think you need to do? Or how would you define a successful life, a life you'd be, happy to look back on and say, yeah, that was a cool life, and I would, like, for a client who, like, nobody has to believe in reincarnation. Plus, like, about kids, like, I've seen myself in many lifetimes being a mother and a father of children and having different issues with kids. And so when I look at myself in this lifetime, I can peacefully say, no, I don't need to have kids in this lifetime. In fact, I choose not to, because I don't, like, I hear people tell me things like, you live just once, you need to have a baby just because you need to do it, because you have to. And it's like, I don't live just once. I already had experiences as a parent many times before, and I can choose to be a parent in this life or not, but I'm not going to choose it based on a fear of I can't miss out on something. I will do it because if it makes me, if I'm thinking of a kid and all these activities that involve being with a kid, like feeding, taking care of the kid, talking, like reading books, playing around, whatever it is that's involved about raising a kid, if that makes me feel alive within me, sure, I'll have a kid in this lifetime. But if I'm thinking about that and doesn't make me excited, then, if there's other stuff that makes me more excited, I will do the other stuff, because that we don't live once. And I'm okay with having a kid in another life. And I'm not one of those people who's going to say, I'm never going to incarnate again because this life sucks. No. And on the contrary, I'm changing my perception. So how would I talk to a person who doesn't believe in reincarnation and thinks that they have to do everything? I would look into the intentions of why do they think that they have to do everything? Because obviously that's not possible. It's not possible to do everything. It's not possible to be a pilot, a doctor, a ballet dancer, professional ballet dancer, an artist, gymnast, a scuba diver, mountain climber.
Oh my God.
Father, you start naming all these things. You can't, it's impossible. And whatever they have in their head that's like pressing on them, like a balloon or some overinflated balloon, there is a reason there's a wound somewhere that they're trying to heal, actually. But they don't know that there's a wound they're trying to heal. They're just acting from that wounded state. They have a desire that I have to do all these things. Why? And I had to go back to heal. My NDE didn't heal it completely, it just like really deflated it. But with my teacher, I could heal that, because I realized that, it just went back to me like I'm not enough. And I need to prove to other people that I am enough by creating this lifestyle with a mansion, being a CEO, all that stuff that I said, so that somebody looks at me and says, okay, she's a good enough person.
Yes.
But there is no such thing as somebody looking at, mean, nobody can tell you you're good enough. Or I was always thinking that when we die, we're going to go to wherever it was. Like there's a part of me that knew all this incarnational stuff, had spiritual experience. There's a part of me that's like a kid. And I thought that when we die, the God is going to look like my first grade teacher with glasses and like this 1980s hairstyle with the very red lipstick and a red pen and a diary. And she's going to be like, okay, Olga, let's see how you did. So she's going to give me a list of tick marks that I should have done, like out of 100, like a score. And she's going to be like, okay, let's see how you did. Okay, kids, let's see, like points for having kids, like what kind of kids did I get? What kind of did I create? Then she'd be like, car, okay, house, health, looks. And then after she would do all these things, then I would have a score of something out of 100. Like I was aiming for something like 87 out of 100, because 100 out of 100 is too much. So I was like, okay, at least I want to get a B in my life. And that is the reason why I wanted to do all the million things. And it was coming from a wound that I thought that I wasn't enough.
Yes.
So for a person who doesn't believe in in reincarnation or anything like that, I would just look for the reason why what are they trying to do, and heal that.
Yes. For me, it was very primal. As in, when you were relating your experience, I just went back to why I wanted to be a doctor and a bureaucrat and a writer. A writer is what I really wanted to do. That's still like writing fiction is, I think, I find it to be my most valuable resource. Telling stories and writing. So I think out of all the three, that was the only thing that I was really called to. The other two, becoming a bureaucrat and becoming a doctor, they have a high social value in India. And my parents wanted me to, be that. And, I wanted to be a good girl and please them. And I felt that if I didn't achieve all of these things, I would be left. As in, it was a very primal thing for me. My fears of abandonment. For me, it was like, oh, so everybody's going to abandon me and I'm going to just die alone. I don't know where that came from, but for me, it always used to end with death. I was like, oh, I'm going to die. And I'm going to die a horrible death. I'm going to carry that into other lifetimes, the trauma of that death. So for me, ironically, like for me, having this knowing inside me that there are other lives that I can go to was not enough for me to not have that fear. Because for me, it was like if I die traumatically, then I'll incarnate into a series of lifetimes of utter misery because that's the essence that you carry through in other lifetimes. And there were a lot of like limiting beliefs around it and, trauma around it. So yeah, talking to you, I realized that even people who do have this knowing that there is such a thing as reincarnation, your social conditioning can sometimes just run you, and you might want to achieve more than you actually want to. Yeah, more than you have signed up for, and that really comes from the wound. So whether or not you are aware of reincarnation, at the end of the day, really doesn't matter. What matters is to get to the root of that wound. So, like always, like talking to you clears up a lot of things in me, which is why I call you my teacher.
I call you my like inspiration muse, I guess. Yeah, because
oh my God, thank you so much.
When I hear you speak freely, I'm like, I wish I could speak like that, And then my friends tell me, what are you talking about? You're always posting videos, you're always posting poems, you're always posting stuff. How come you're saying that you can't speak? But for me, it's like the Wizard of Oz, all those like the straw man and the tin man. They were always saying something like, well, if I had a heart, I would do this. And then they did it. Or if I had courage, I would do this. And they actually did it. All the story, they did it. But they thought they weren't that. And then finally, at the end of the story, there's this witch, I think, that tells them, you have a heart and you have courage. But I understand I'm speaking every day. And that's like the only thing I ever want to do. But I still feel like I'm quiet. So I think I don't think I know that there are more wounds inside of me to heal. Because why do I feel like I'm quiet? And what is it I'm supposed to speak about that maybe I'm speaking about something else that doesn't matter to me? I don't know. Or is it about an audience? What is it about? I don't know yet. I'm blind to it right now. So
when I tune into you, I'm sorry I'm cutting you here, but when I tune into you, I have always felt that you want to be outrageous, as in you want to be outrageous on a public platform. That's what I get from you whenever you speak about.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I finally had to say it. I was holding it in for 2 months. So yeah, probably.
Yeah. It's interesting that you called me a teacher and I called you a muse. For me, inspirational muse. And we are kind of a match to each other. And actually, this is what I want to talk about for the next episode. It's all of the availability of so many teachers these days.
Yeah.
And I wanted to explore like how the matching process happens, because you and I were matched.
Yes.
Like not by someone else, by us, because we are the creators of our experience. We were matched. And why that happens and why people are drawn and attracted to specific teachers and why specific teachers get certain, and how this process, I don't know, works and changes and evolves.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
If you're okay with that.
Yes, I would love that. I would love that. This is such a vast topic. I am so glad that we're bringing it up. I have been attracted to various teachers depending on the stage of life that I was in. So yeah, I would like to speak about that.
Yeah,
as
we're
well.
going to talk about that. But
Yeah.
for now, we're going to say goodbye for this episode because there's so much stuff to talk about teachers and students and healers that this is going to be a series. So if you guys like, first of all, thank you for watching all the way to the end of this episode. And we hope to get your comments and questions and join us in our Facebook group, Demystifying Healing podcast Facebook group. You can find us on Facebook. We can start a dialogue. Please like this video and subscribe to us so we know that you guys are enjoying this and we can create more podcasts like this. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye-bye.